Bonjour et bienvenue. Je m'appelle Daniel et pour mon 30e anniversaire, j'allais à Paris. Pour cette vidéo, je vous parler de mon expérience. Enjoy. So my French isn't that great, but what I'm saying is that this is a video about my experiences going to France, Paris, for my 30th birthday. This video will have a lot of photos of my trip and just bring context to my experience in the photos that you see. For those of you who know my work as a photographer on Instagram, my direction with creation, just creating my images, is largely from a Pan-African angle. My philosophy here is that it is quite important for Black people, wherever you are, African descended people, wherever you are, to go out and connect with the different expressions and flavors of the African diaspora. Our liberation, our future is in our understanding and our unity of one another. And this means growing ourselves ideologically and philosophically, as well as economically. When you think about traveling and going out there and connecting, you want to connect with other African descended people and just grow your awareness of Blackness in the world. But also, if you're going to be a tourist, you want to be a tourist in these places because you're going to be spending money and offering to that community and that economy. In that thought, I'm like, okay, yeah, like for my 30th birthday, I'm going to go to a place like the Caribbean maybe, or like Brazil or Colombia. I've seen so many beautiful images coming out of Colombia, like the Afro-descended communities there. But I actually had two friends out there in Paris, one of which I met in the States and moved maybe 2-3 years ago. Her name is Alicia. I haven't seen her in years, so I thought, okay, that's a good incentive to go to Paris. Additionally, my friend Della was out there, a mutual friend of myself and Alicia. So she was out there for a month, really, in April, hanging out with Alicia. And I thought, all right, I have two friends out there. So let me think about it a little bit more. Also, Paris has this history of many different icons and writers, musicians within Black culture that have gone out to connect with the community out there and grow their sense of Blackness. Notably James Baldwin, Richard Wright, Nina Simone, and then the iconic historian C.L.R. James wrote his book, The Black Jacobin, The Black Jacobin. I'll put the title somewhere here. But yeah, they all went out there, and a number of others who I'm not even aware of. Paris has offered this kind of metropolitan hub of Blackness and ideas and philosophy. So Paris would be a place in which Black folks would gather and exchange ideas and thoughts, strategies about anti-colonialism, whether they're a writer or future politician or activist, etc. So I thought maybe I could kind of pick up a bit of that legacy during my time there. I flew out, landed in Charles de Gaulle Airport, and my immediate impressions of Paris was how beautiful it is. Now, I know we've been fed images throughout Paris our entire lives, so I know that this is not a surprise. However, being from New York and being from the Bronx in particular, a place that is not really served to its highest potential when it comes to infrastructure and urban planning, Paris has a specific beauty and a specific grandeur that is awe-inspiring. Every corner is like a work of art, beautiful ornate buildings and intricate stonework, as well as how the streets are laid out for walking, for like kind of making your way around, and it has a scenic flair to it that I was kind of overwhelmed with at first. Additionally, just the light and atmosphere during that time was quite stunning as well. Friends of mine who have traveled out there or have lived in Paris have told me that specifically spring is the time to go because it is just beautiful. I'm happy that I got a piece of that. Another thing I enjoyed was the everyday flow of Paris. Again, when I compare it to New York and how high octane and active and bustling New York is, Paris is very slow and subdued and easygoing with how people get around, with how people rest and relax and enjoy their time and their day. People are not really in a rush in the way that we are in New York, even during rush hour. I remember I'll wake up in the morning really early to just kind of make the most of the day. And people heading to work would kind of just have a leisurely way about going about. So I really appreciated that kind of opportunity to rest and take off that hustle and bustle feeling that New York makes you carry with you. So I made my way around. I went to places of which you imagine visiting if you were to go to Paris. I went to the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower, the Notre Dame. But at some point I thought, okay, I want to connect with the African community. So I hit up a friend of mine who told me of a few places to visit. So got on the train, got on the metro, and we headed out to the outer arrondissement. And it's almost like getting on the train from Lower Manhattan and getting off in Harlem, and immediately you're struck with Black culture, Black life, and Black expression. And I found African hair salons, I found African restaurants, and it was really nice walking around this area because the beauty that you get from inner Paris, the Parisian center where you do find these iconic locations, is stunning, but it's quite consistent as you move to the outer fringes of Paris, where you might find more minority groups. In America, we're quite used to seeing minority groups in parts of cities that are underserved. This is just due to the history of American racism and prejudice, as well as like the laws that have come to be that have made it so that these parts of America are underserved. I didn't find that in Paris. I found that as you got to these places that are largely Black and brown and Muslim, you still found the beauty and charm that you'd get in the center of Paris, which is quite encouraging in a sense to know that in the same way that Bed-Stuy exists, and Bed-Stuy is quite beautiful and quite Black, but it's just a small pocket, unfortunately, of Brooklyn. That is the case out there in Paris as well, how you find beautiful places that are quite Black, and there's a longevity to the establishment of Blackness that exists there. So I tried my best to connect with community as well. As you heard in the start of this video, my French is not the best, but I tried to get by with the French I know. And I found that Parisians can be a little standoffish, but once you show up with consistency, with just good energy and positivity, they almost always open up. And once they do, they're quite warm and friendly and inviting. I was lucky enough to be connected with two street photographers that my friend Elijah connected me to, named Ousmane and Triayi. They're two Afro-descended photographers out there living in Paris, and I got to sit with them and hear about their experiences as well as the general Black experience from their angle, while also kind of walking around, making photos. And as we were moving around, I spoke with them about how Black folks feel about the politics that are going on now in France. There's a lot of anti-Blackness in terms of immigration and citizenship, as well as anti-Islamic sentiment as well, which has been quite consistent, especially in the last few years. And what was expressed to me was that there is an underlying anti-Blackness that the Black community obviously is quite aware of. And they're also quite aware of the fact that France has been a violent colonial power in their homelands. Whether you're from North Africa or West Africa or the Caribbean, there's an awareness that France has stolen from these places and has built its splendor and beauty off of the backs of the people who inhabit these places. The citizenship is so tentative for a lot of these people that to kind of stir the pot would put so much on the line. Unfortunately, resistance movement across the African diaspora in Paris is not as prominent or visible as it is in America. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in its own way. It exists through art, and the art of which I have observed in Ousmane and Thierry's photo work. It exists in writing, and it exists in film as well, in cinema. So that is something to be aware of as a Black person. The fact that, although Paris might seem like an idyllic and beautiful place and just a dream place to live in, there is still discrimination and there still is prejudice, and the struggle to fight for liberation and for better circumstances for Black people exists there too. With that said, I think that this is a beautiful place to visit. I think that it is a worthwhile place to visit no matter who you are, but especially Black people who seek to connect to the culture in a new way. Highly encourage you to visit Paris, whether it's for your birthday like me or for whatever reason. If you make your way to London, there's a train that goes to Paris, so try to get there and connect with the African diaspora there. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm trying to make a lot more of these videos and bring context to my photography as time goes on. So I'll be sharing more of these in the future. And I have 2 more in mind for this summer, so I hope you stick around for that. And until next time, merci. À la prochaine. Take care.